Alright, welcome to section 2, building the shopping list. So we're going to start out with creating the state and the mutations for our shopping list app, which is just going to be a simple demo app to kind of use all the features of Vuex that we talked about in the last section. So there are a few features that our shopping list app is going to have. We're going to be able to add items to the shopping list, and each item is just going to be an object with a name, a price, and a quantity. We're going to be able to view all the items in a list. We're going to be able to edit the items' names. We'll be able to remove items from the list. And finally, we'll be able to view the total number of items and also the total price for all of the items combined. So let's jump right into the coding. Alright, so I have a bare bones project here that I've created in Vue CLI, and I'm going to open the store.js file. So you can see that it's pretty much just the boilerplate for the store that Vue CLI automatically created. So we're going to fill this out with the state and mutations that we're going to need for our shopping list. Okay, so for state, all we really need is just an array of the items in our shopping list, and we're just going to call that shopping list. And that shopping list is going to have objects with a name, price, and quantity. And another thing is that we're going to have an ID on each item in the shopping list, and that's going to make it easier to track the different items. And potentially, if you had an API attached to this, then the API would also want to have that ID. Okay, so next is mutations. We're definitely going to want to add items to our shopping list at some point, so I'm going to create a mutation for that. Okay, so here we're taking in the state, and then we're taking in an item object, which we're destructuring to get the name, the price, and the quantity. Okay, so we're doing a little bit of processing to parse some ints and floats from the data, which could be a string, and then we're just adding it onto the shopping list. And the other thing is we need to add in the ID field. So to do that, we're just going to have a series of IDs starting at 0. So for each item, it's just going to increment the global ID, and then put that next ID as the ID for the new item. So that should make it so that each item that we put in gets a new ID associated with it. So the other thing that we're going to want to do is to be able to remove an item from the list. So that's a little bit more complicated, but it's not really too complicated overall. Okay, so what we're going to do is take in the state and the item, and then we're just going to get the index of the item and then remove that index. Okay, so here I'm just going to use the built-in indexOf function to find the index of the item in the shopping list. Look at the item ID and search by the item ID because this is assuming that the reference to the item is the exact same reference as the one in the list. But for now, for this purpose, it's a pretty safe assumption to say that the reference that's getting passed in to the item object is the same as the item object that's in the list. So we don't have to do any ID comparisons, and we can just directly use indexOf. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to want to do is to be able to edit an item. For now, we're just going to say that you can edit the item name. If we wanted to, we could make it so you can edit other properties like the quantity and price. But for now, we're going to keep it pretty simple and just make it so you can change the item name. Okay, so we're taking the state and the item that we want to change and the new name that we want for the item, and both of those are an object that we're destructuring. So at face value, it might look like this isn't changing anything in the state. In fact, we don't even access the state for this. But because the item that's getting passed in is probably going to be a reference to an item in the list, it is implicitly changing the state. So it might look like we don't need to do a mutation here because it's not directly changing the state, but we do because it is changing the state. It's just that it's an indirect change. All right. So I was just deleting the actions because we don't have any of those right now. And that is all that we need to do right now. So we have the state, which is the shopping list, and then we have mutations to add, remove, and edit items in the list. Let's go check it out in the browser. Okay, so nothing's really visible. That's not too surprising since we didn't change anything yet, but if we go into the Vue Dev Tools, you can see that we have the base state with the shopping list array.